The road to 100,000 YouTube subscribers can be a long one, so how do creators just like you get there? In this series, you'll hear from YouTubers that have worked hard to build a loyal audience and learn what they did to grow. Meet Gord South. He has over 160,000 YouTube subscribers.
So what we do is construction tips.
He's got a fast-growing channel and he understands his audience well.
I look at it, we're in the business of buying time from people.
He's bold, fearless, and not afraid to dish advice.
If you have 40K and you've been at it for 4 years, you are half-assing it, period.
His videos are hour-long, elaborate TV-style productions. You've got a celebrity judge, you've dropped 10 grand on the video,
Yeah,
and it flops?
completely.
Wow! What did you do next?
I decided to film a second episode.
Gord is the epitome of someone who knows what they want and won't stop till they get it. You're blowing my mind right now, Gord. Like, seriously. We'll talk to Gord about how he built his YouTube channel from the ground up and what's next.
Okay, let's get ourselves a TV show and get the hell out of here.
Gord South, aka the Wood Bully, thank you so much for being here with me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So I've got so many questions for you, and I'm really fascinated by your channel because it's very different from a lot of the channels that I've followed in the past. Talk a bit about what you do on your channel and how you got started.
So what we do is construction tips. Started as pro tips, evolved into tips for everybody. We also have a carpentry competition series that's sort of like Iron Chef for carpenters. We decided to do that. That's a big part of how we grew the YouTube part of the channel, because I realized after growing on other platforms, YouTube was going to be a different beast to conquer, and the competition was high, so the ideas have to be better. So my thing was, let's come up with some ideas that people actually want to watch, versus like when I first got started, I was starting a construction company for the first time. I had absolutely no money. And I knew the only way to fix my problem was to make more money. And if I was reaching a higher level in my career as a carpenter, but not having money, it's the same deal, right? So, being told to wait until you have more money before you start a business is what I was taught. And I believe that's how most people who don't run businesses see the world. And that's what they'll always give you as advice, is like, hey, if you're going to start a business, you need to have $500,000 set aside, or you need investors, or you need this or that. And I started the business with nothing, like literally probably negative money. If I had access to credit, it would have been more negative. But it started with an idea. I wanted to come up with a name and a brand that was marketable, sort of like a band or a comic book character. So it'd be easy to create sort of a brand around myself and what I offer as a service, which was building for people decks, backyards, fences, and doing custom work like that. And we started with handshakes, and we started on Instagram, posting day-to-day updates like, oh, we're working on this, here's how this project's going. And then customers would start to share it with their friends and neighbors and family, and they'd all watch along to see this backyard project being done. And that helped us, A, get a bit of momentum, and then B, sell more projects, which at the time was what we needed because I didn't have a marketing budget. So for me, it was very important to be able to do that. And then this app called TikTok came out for the very first time. At first, it was for teenagers and young people, like everything cool would be at first. Me being at the time, I think 29 years old, I was probably old for that whole thing to begin with. But we decided to take all our Instagram videos and just throw them up so I could get at Woodbully before anyone snags it. So I made an account at Woodbully on TikTok, and then threw up my construction videos, which I had not seen a single construction video on TikTok at this time. This was all just dancing to weird pop music and kids just doing what they do and communicating that way. I forgot about it for 2 months, went back to check just to see, and hundreds of thousands of views on all my videos. And we had already had like 10K followers at this point. And I wasn't sure if they were fake, if they were bots, what was happening. But then we started getting recognized at Home Depot as the channel grew, and we realized this is real. These are real people. And then once Meta switched from its platform to try to compete with TikTok, we were able to take now what we have is a year's worth of TikTok videos that we can just move over to Facebook and Instagram. And Facebook, it really blew up. Facebook went from 2,500 followers to probably 100K in like 3 months. And then it kept going. And now we're at what, 570 on Facebook. And Facebook was a big part of how I made a living before I was able to crack into YouTube. Right.
And when did you start your YouTube channel?
I started my
what was the
YouTube
year?
channel in 2020 probably. But did
Okay.
did I take it seriously? No, because when YouTube at that time, I was all my videos were sort of funny and fast. And this is before TikTok.
Like
So,
actual shorts, you mean, or just fast
yeah.
paced,
And
fast
this is
cuts?
before shorts were even a thing. It's just,
Okay.
this is how we did it. Fast paced, fast. I barely knew how to edit. So everything was done in one take, really fast, really funny. And there was no platform for it at all. But so I just figured YouTube doesn't want that. YouTube wants what they do. People are smart. They sit down. They know their equipment. They know their gear. They know their facts. They do little cheat sheets. They read a script. That's YouTube. I'm not doing that. And I just
Right.
honestly at the time didn't believe I was capable of it anyways. I thought that the investment of a camera and a software to edit was so far beyond my ability to spend, thinking, small at the time. But
So you mean long form at that stage? You were
yeah,
thinking
there was no
short
such thing
form
as
I can do, but long form is like a little more distant.
well, there's no such thing as short form. So it was a short form energy and a long form video is what I was doing, and there was no platform for that
Right.
until Facebook mixed short or reels with long, and I'd put my long reels up, and then Facebook they would just blow up millions of views, and then I started getting monetized on Facebook. And then I seen talking to some of my friends that were creators that I met through the Facebook thing. They also had YouTube channels, and their Facebook was more of a backup. They would just crop their things into squares and throw them on Facebook. Just why not, right? And I seen that their earnings were way higher on YouTube for the amount of views versus Facebook. But um, Facebook basically gave us the confidence to be able to keep putting things out and get a response from the audience constantly, and see what videos are hitting, see what type of videos are hitting long versus short, and then as we started to take YouTube more seriously, when they released YouTube Shorts, then I realized, okay, so I've been releasing YouTube videos that had not been doing well. They've been very stale, long form. Then they came out with shorts, and I'm like, oh, I have 3 years worth of shorts. So I'm just going to schedule them around the clock, 9 a.m., 12, 3 p.m. every day. So I basically uploaded everything in probably the span of a couple weeks to stretch that first almost year where there was just regular content being blasted out that I knew was hits on other pages. And it did help us grow to about 35K and get us monetized, which was great. But at the time, shorts weren't monetized, only long form was monetized.
Right.
And I realized that they're two different audiences that we've now built. So the shorts audience, it's a small crossover, but it's not much. If you do like a circle graph, it's like that. You know what I mean? Where you got the middle is the people who watch both, and then you got the shorts and the long form here. And then I realized I had to build a separate brand to keep people's interest. And then that's where that Changer Studios invited us out to their program, because they seen how well we were doing on Facebook and TikTok, and they seen us struggling on YouTube with the same amount of content, the same volume, and just completely struggling. And that's where we learned most about the difference, because I had shot a pilot episode that was meant to be a television show pitch, where
Okay.
it was the carpentry competition.
Yep.
And ultimately the network said they don't want to do it because the attitude of inviting a hater out to compete against you is not really advertiser friendly or something, which I don't think is
Right.
right, but I just think that's how TV networks think, right?
Yeah. They're more mainstream for sure.
Yeah, and even that, they're mainstream 10 years ago. I think they're falling behind big time. Their audience is getting older and disappearing. That's what you kind of see, especially in the home and garden DIY area. You see that
Yeah.
it's people over 60 now instead of people over 40, like it was. You know what I mean? And it's slowly losing interest of the youth, which is obvious because their stuff is fake and boring. And I used to want to get on TV, so that's a big part of how I was doing this Instagram channel, was like, maybe a producer will find me and I can do television contracting, which is easier and more lucrative than the real thing. Even though I'd done the real thing for 20 years, I was, like, let's figure out another way to do this. I'm good at talking. I'm not afraid of the camera. why don't we just do this, right? So
if I'm understanding correctly, you were working as a carpenter, like
yes,
backyard kind of stuff, home renovations, probably that thing.
all different kinds, from commercial to home renovations to backyards, from the time I was 15 until I was 30 when I started the business.
Got it. And
Yeah.
then you thought we could parlay the carpentry aspect into doing carpentry stuff for TV, which
Yeah.
also led you to think about the crossover between social media content and carpentry.
Yes, and I didn't realize how lucrative social media was going to be at that time, because this is going back to before pre-pandemic times too, right? So I just knew that, or I thought that all of the big names on the TV shows like HGTV and DIY Network were running their own companies, but I realized that's just a facade they made up to make them look pro or whatever. They're actually, most of them are actors or models or something. They don't even actually do the job. And I spent a couple of years working behind the scenes for those shows, building the things for them to take credit for, where I was told there'd be this or that, and I was never given anything. I just basically came in, built everything, and left, and then they just
Huh.
walked over and said, "Oh, look what I did! Look what we did!" And
So
it's
you've got some background in like professional HGTV type television production as well, or
just from
television series.
just from the social. So because I was trying to get seen by producers or showrunners or networks or whoever, I didn't care who it would be. I wanted to start making myself more suitable for television to get
Right.
discovered. And halfway, this is before YouTube really started to work, and before even
Mm-hmm.
Facebook really blew up. And my goal was, as TikTok blew up and as Instagram started to grow, I was like, okay, let's get ourselves a TV show and get the hell out of here. Um, and ultimately, we ended up signing a production deal with a company. They reached out to us, and me and my main guy Chuck, he's my main employee, first guy I ever hired. I've known him for a long time, and only guy I've never fired as well. Um, me and him both signed a deal because they wanted both of us in the show,
Right.
right? So
And how long
ultimately,
ago would this have been?
2021.
Okay.
And this is where we realized, though, when the offering came out of what the money would be, it was less than what we were making doing carpentry.
Right.
And I understand that they consider this like an initial investment in yourself and your brand, and like you got to eat before you eat the good stuff. But it's like they also wanted a piece of the brand that I had just spent the last 3 years building. And to me, that doesn't make sense to give it to them, because I can only see it going up from here and them going down. So why would I want to jump on a sinking ship and give them all
Hmm.
my supplies? It doesn't make any sense. So even from somebody who doesn't even have an education in business, media, television, anything, I didn't see that as I can see the trend. I'm not crazy, right? So ultimately it didn't work out. And for the best, obviously. I was
But
wrong
Gord,
about it.
was that the intent of you starting the YouTube channel and growing the social media, was not to market your carpentry business, but to grow that into a potential television career?
And this is what, like, years later I'm comfortable admitting this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I had a family to feed. I had people who customers, and I wanted this business to do well because I thought it would get me a television show. So it's like the business was a byproduct. It
Mm-hmm.
was just a thing I had to do in order to do the thing I really wanted to do. And I think that's why it did so well so fast, because it wasn't the ultimate goal. And when you shoot for your ultimate goal and you land here, usually realistically, here was a very successful construction company. That's
Okay.
not what I wanted. So it just happened. And like, I think in the first 18 months, I went from $0 to over $1 million in sales. It's around that 18 months mark. It was definitely shorter than the 2 years. I know that. And then once
And
we hit a
that's your
million,
construction business company, right? Not your social
correct,
media empire.
correct.
Okay.
And that was because I wanted to build cooler, bigger, better projects, because I thought it would be better to make videos with.
Got it.
So all I did was push that passion onto the customers. Like, I can make something so cool. Let me do this. I design it. And then all of a sudden I'm turning budgets that were originally 40 into 400 in sales. I'm not even a sales guy, but I think I was so passionate, and I believed in it so much that it just translate. I didn't realize that until a couple of years later, that I think that was the ticket, was that I genuinely believed what I was saying, because that's what I ended up delivering. And I, I didn't sell them. I sold them my dream and their dream at the same time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think
That's a good way to put that.
and that's how I learned that sales is just, if you believe in what you're selling, it's very easy to sell. If you don't, you need to have incredible talent and no conscience.
Right. You're
Right.
really, I'm hearing that like your passion for building things and your enthusiasm for the projects that you're doing with your companies are translating into visible passion for the videos that you're creating for YouTube. Do you think that is one of the reasons that you've been able to grow so quickly?
I think when I started, there was a mental shift when I realized, like, so the work we did, it was all about make it as perfect and unrealistically good as possible. And to the point where I would say it's like a Michelin star restaurant, but we're building things. So you need to be on your A game, or you're gone, kind of thing. And we never want a customer to see a mistake before we fix it. So it was just like, don't send a plate out if it's not good. Internally, let's fix everything before we present it to customer. Let's make sure it's as good as possible. Let's win every award we could possibly win for construction and design. And that's kind of how we did it. And when I realized that if I treated the content with the same, respect,
Seriousness, respect, I like
yes,
that.
then all of a sudden we see what we're doing wrong in a lot of ways. And it's not that we're saying things wrong. It's not that, it's like we realize that we're half-assing this. We genuinely are. And whether people want to admit it, if you have 40K and you've been at it for 4 years, you are half-assing it, period. There's no other explanation. So you have to look at why. And then if all the ways to grow and ideas that you have in your head are unrealistic, so you're not going to try them, then you'll never get anywhere. So I think the biggest thing is when you come up with an idea and say, I wish someone, or wouldn't it be cool if someone did that? Or I wish I could do that. That's when you should just do that. And it's just simple as turning the switch and just doing it. That's to do with all things in business. I think in life, that's, if you have an idea that you think would be cool if someone else did it, you should do it.
I agree
Period.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Gord, I've been watching some of your videos and they are like, I don't know if you're going to take this as a compliment or an insult, given some of what you've said, but they are like HGTV level production. Like the lighting
Speaking of
is on
which,
point.
HGTV personalities that I invite out to be judges.
Amazing. Like
Yes.
the level of production that you're putting into this stuff and the time investment is huge. So talk to me a bit about your process for some of these videos.
Okay.
Like how does this happen? How does this come together?
So the first episode, there's an HGTV personality, probably not even HGTV anymore. I think that they've changed, whatever it is. There's a TV personality named Brian Baumler in Canada. And I always looked up to him watching his shows. I always thought he really knew what he was doing. I thought his construction taste was there, where the other construction guys on TV either slap it together to make it look good enough for video, or they have no aesthetic. They just build it right and they don't care how it looks. It's just built strong and tough, but it looks hideous. And I feel like he's the only guy on TV who had the balance of, he seemed to know what he was talking about, from a construction worker to him, and the aesthetics were there, which is not easy to do. Anyone who's built a luxury anything would know that. To make it so it's strong, but it also looks good, very difficult thing to do. Anyways, he lives, 40 minutes from me, probably. I flew to Florida, Orlando, because I seen he was doing an appearance there, and I was going to the International Builders Show in Florida, and that's a part of how I networked, was going to these trade shows. And I'll explain that down the road if we have time, hopefully, which we will probably get to. Met him at a booth, introduced myself. He already knew who I was because I had this catchphrase called "Pay attention, Brian" on my short forms that kind of took off as a joke that I never expected to work out. And it's a long story, but we can't reveal who Brian is. It's not Brian Baumler, but because of that, I think I popped up on Brian Baumler's feed a lot. And so he knew who I was when I met him, which was great, made that easy. And then we chatted for a little while, and then he said, if you ever have an idea for a TV show, feel free to pitch it to me. And this is after the TV deal already didn't work out years before, right? So then I remember, literally on the spot, I just said, we'll call it Beat the Bully, and I'll challenge haters to come go head to head in a competition, carpentry competition with me. Like, because I felt like if I had to come up with an idea right now, I'm probably never going to get a chance again, right? He said it was brilliant, set me up with his production company. Ultimately, they said that it would be hard to produce because of the type of characters, the moving parts, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, I decided to do it myself on YouTube instead because I still like the idea of
So
that
hang
market.
on, hang on. I want to focus a bit on this because
Yeah,
basically a TV studio production expert guy who has like 3 or 4 shows, professionally produced shows,
yeah.
is telling you great idea, but it's going to be too tough to do.
He
And
is
you
too
and
tough.
you went and you went, I'm going to do it anyway. I
Pretty
love
much,
that.
yeah. Well, he said I love the idea. His production team said that's not something we could probably sell to a network and it might be difficult to produce. So he was still on board. It just didn't make sense for television. So I decided to do it myself. Scraped together probably 10 grand. Um, I went through probably 3 different camera crews and editors before I found the guys who understood what I wanted. And at the time, I had no idea how to edit a video, um, long form at least. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand how to use the software, and I've learned since, but not the
It's
level
an
of
art for sure. A
experience.
good
And these
editor is
guys,
worth their weight in
yes,
gold.
and these guys went to film school. They have a company. They've worked on real movies. So these are the guys I wanted. They told me how much it would be. I needed a warehouse space. I did not have that because now this is a huge production. If it rains,
Right.
we don't have a show. Um, so I called around every friend I know who had a shop, and there was a guy I had just met a week before where we bought a slab off of him, had a massive shop just down the road from us, and he had enough that he could just lend us the corner for the day. And so now I had it all set up, but I needed a judge, and I wanted a celebrity judge because I thought it would add excitement to like to have a judge come in blind after the build is done, who has a presence would add some validity to the show. So I called Brian Baumler and I said, "Hey, we decided to do the show anyways. We're filming on this date. We would love for you to come out as a guest judge." And he just said, "Absolutely." And he just showed up. I think it was on Father's Day, and I think he was on the way to shoot a show in like, like in the Belleville area. So he's driving through Durham, anyways. So he stopped, and it was in Oshawa where we were shooting. And he just came in for 3 or 4 hours. We filmed as
Wow.
much as we could of him judging. He was fair. He didn't know who built what until he announced it. Um, and he kind of gave us some pointers on how we should set up the judging process at that time. He was just, and then he left, and then we had the video, massive flop on YouTube. Amazing
Wait,
video,
what?
amazing video.
What?
Completely, we got 1,200 views total in
And
the
how many
first
subscribers would you have had at that point?
probably 40,000, and
So
all
at
from shorts.
40,000, you've got a celebrity judge, you've dropped 10 grand on the video,
Yeah,
and it flops?
completely.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
so what did you do next?
I also
What
put,
happened?
I decided to film a second episode. And then I filmed the second episode. And it wasn't as good as the first one, in my opinion. It was the same team, but different guy editing from the team. So then we went back and forth until we got it right. And then ultimately I released that and it flopped even harder. So now it's like 500 views total for a high value production, entertaining video, right? So now it's like
You're blowing my mind right now, Gord. Like
this
seriously.
is just the reality though. Like you could put
Yeah.
your heart and soul into something, doesn't mean it's gonna work. But don't give up on it, I guess is where I'm gonna get to, because 6 months goes by. I just keep trying other things and I keep trying to find sponsors who believe in the vision so I can afford to make this show because the first 2 episodes were on me. And I can't keep doing this, especially if I go to my wife. I'm like, look, I'm spending 20 grand. I made nothing, but it's fun and I believe in it as a thing, and as much as I've surprised her with what I can pull out of thin air business wise, which I've been doing year after year, um, there's a point where people are going to say, I think you're beating a dead horse here, right? Well, when Changer Studios invited us to that course to teach us about YouTube, I realized how much I did not know about YouTube versus every other platform. So
And Gord, I just want to jump in really quick to finish that thought. Changer Studios, for anybody who might be not familiar with them, they're an organization based out of Australia whose job really is to help YouTubers grow. And they work with YouTube to host kind of like master class sessions over a few months where they teach you some of the finer points of YouTube. So if anybody is out there looking to learn and grow, look up Changer Studios and the programming they have available. I've been through it. Gord's been through it as well. And it does do a lot. Sorry to interrupt you on your flow there, Gord, but go on.
Well, it was an 18-week course, and 9 weeks in, we had already figured it out. So the biggest thing that I had screwed up was assuming that just because it was a good long video, it was going to work. I think there's two big things that I messed up. The hook was not a hook. It was just an intro. But I knew that hooks had to be good from TikTok. I knew we needed hooks for Facebook. But for some reason on YouTube long form, I thought hooks didn't matter. Just make sure the video is good and watchable. I was wrong. You need a hook. Also, packaging. Is the title, the thumbnail, all of that involved needs to be like, I imagine it now as if I'm fighting for retail space. So say I invented a new chocolate bar that's the greatest chocolate bar. I believe in it. I think it's amazing. Anyone who tries it will love it. But then I don't package it right and nobody ever tries it. Therefore, nobody loves it. Therefore, it's not a thing, right? So no matter how good your video is, if
they don't click, they won't
set
watch.
it up to let people give it a chance, it's never going to take off because the algorithm can't compare it. Because an algorithm doesn't understand if a video is good or not. They just base it off human behavior. And it doesn't matter what hashtags you put in, what metadata you put in. None of this matters. You could post a video with no description. It could take off if it's good and you package it correctly. So I believe that titles, thumbnails are like, I wouldn't say more important, but for the initial success of a
Mr. Beast
video,
thinks they are, yeah.
for the initial success of a video, it's like anything. The product matters, but without the proper packaging, it'll never sell. You know what I mean? So if you have a high quality product, now your job is to sell it. That's where you have to focus on the marketing, the packaging. That's where it really matters. And if you fail on that, no matter how good your product is, it will never sell. So I look at it, we're in the business of buying time from people. Every human being on the planet has the same amount every day. No matter what class, what race, whatever they do, they have the same amount of time that they're given on this planet every day. I need a small bit of that from all of them. And how am I going to get it? That's what I focus on. So I don't focus on money. I focus on earning time. And that made a huge difference too. So I want to take their time from them in exchange for something where they feel like they didn't waste it. So they come and spend it again. I want to have a genuine ethical transaction. So no clickbait, no nonsense, right? That being said, halfway through Changer Studios, I realized that calling it Beat the Bully, nobody on YouTube even knew who I was. So why the hell would I call it that? So I need to come up with a title that's catchy, a title that's mainstream, that everyone who scrolls, no matter what walk of life you're from, will go, I might watch that. So I made it real simple. Me and the competitor face to face with a versus in the middle. And I put YouTuber versus real carpenter. And then I think within months, we had hundreds of thousands of views. And what I did was I made episode 1 and 2 private because they had 1,200 views and 500 views. It meant nothing. So I just made them private. I put them back inside my editing software. I took the moment right before the results were read, copy pasted it to the beginning. So now the most intense part of the video is the first 5 seconds. And it leads into what's about to happen. So it kind of like grabs your attention and also tells you what you're about to watch. And then right before they announce the winner, we go into the intro, which was originally the beginning of the episode. And I did that. I released both of them at the same time, made a new playlist, new brand, new idea, and they both blew up together. And then we finally found sponsors who were willing to give us the money we needed to get our own facility, our own warehouse, the materials, the production. And we just started filming episodes as quickly as possible, where we learned these are actually very difficult episodes to film. These are very difficult. Maybe the producer was right, but I still felt like we could do this.
Well, a lot of moving parts, Gord. Multiple people involved, lots of moving parts, a ton of shots, all day builds in some cases. How many hours of footage are you working with, or is your editor working with?
I think there's hundreds of hours per episodes for sure, and it takes months to make an episode correctly. So what we've done this year is we filmed 7 or 8 as quickly as we could, and then we're going to let them get edited, and then release them after. Then we're going to take a break while we're filming, then release.
Do it again.
Like television. There's a reason that they developed this formula 100 years ago, right?
A season, yeah.
Yeah, but this is because it's so difficult to make something high end and high quality that, of course, we need to give it the time and respect it deserves and not rush it. So,
Gord, how many people work on your channel with you? You're obviously the central host, the central character, but how many other regulars would you say you have, or staff?
It varies. So sometimes if guys wanted in the construction company wanted to make content, I would throw it up. If they do well, keep giving me that. Now we've made the switch recently to full-time media. No more construction company to the public. So we are.
So YouTube is now your full-time gig. You're not doing any more construction, any more carpentry, any more building.
Correct, because I think I was so passionate about selling this show that I got enough sponsors that, you know, say we made $1 million in sponsorships this year, which we did. Not just to say, we made more than that. Now we can afford to get a warehouse. We can afford to get all the materials and tools and fly out the competitors. We can get a show producer, a showrunner. We can get the right people together. Now we have a budget for this. And it had nothing to do with me wanting to be a millionaire as much as it wanted me wanting to make this show a success, because I believed in it, because nobody was doing it for some reason. There was no show where people took the art of carpentry seriously at all. Not even a movie, nothing. They do it for cooking, which is, to me, incredibly easy in comparison. So, and that shows with how difficult this show is to make, and that's probably why it's never been done before, because you need to be a carpenter in order to do this. And I think what makes it crazy is just the fact that we've figured it out. Now, we've just filmed 7 episodes. I think we have 5 released. 7 are about to come out. And then we plan to, now that we've sort of having it dialed in, we have the process, we're getting dialed in. It's getting a lot easier to formulate. It's getting a lot easier to make them good. And it's getting a lot easier to film them more often, especially with our own space. Because even the second episode, we had to get the space again from somebody to lend it to us, right? And it's like, in a warehouse space is very expensive. I don't think, if people realize, if you're not ready to do that, you know, the 20 grand a month or whatever it costs to have a warehouse, you need to need that warehouse, or have a friend who happens to have a business that has that warehouse, which I would never have friends who own businesses if I didn't start one to begin with. So it all kind of just, every opportunity presented itself based on the work that I did beforehand, right? And I mean, yeah, so YouTube revenue, I know you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
The shows, episode 1 and 2 had officially turned a profit earlier this year.
So that was after you said they both bombed, didn't get the response initially. Now they're starting to earn you ad revenue.
They're not only earning ad revenue, they're earning far more than I invested.
Amazing.
So they officially turned a profit at the 10K mark, let's say. They're well beyond that. And episode 3, 4, and 5 have also turned a profit based on what we spent. So the whole thing is now profitable. But I don't look at it strictly as, can ad revenue make this show profitable? Because I would like to do that. And going forward as a media company, we really look at like the safest bet and the best way to give the audience the best quality ideas is to keep sponsors out. Because sponsors like to get their hands involved. They like to put their ideas in, and their ideas, if they were good, they'd have their own channels. That's all. I mean, no disrespect, but if your ideas were good, you wouldn't hire me. You hired us for that. You know what I mean? Sometimes they confuse YouTubers with real celebrities. We're idea people. We're not actors. So I'm not just going to read your script for you. It's going to do horribly, right? Unless you want to boost it on your end and whatever, but that's your money. You can waste it if you want, right?
Well, you have to be a genuine person, I think, on YouTube. And you're right about, you know, actors and people that are sort of a little more rehearsed. I think YouTube works, and what we do, the types of videos we do, works because we're real people. We're not rehearsed. We're not, well, maybe sometimes we're like well presented with a script that we are going to recite. I know that I'm guilty of that, but I think the realness is something that helps drive a channel.
I agree. And the only way to be unique is to be yourself, right? And if you're constantly following someone else's shadow, you will never be a genuine version of anything. You will always be a second rate, 10 step behind person who will never figure out what's going on. And if you're not a creative person, maybe this isn't for you as well. Like if you can only come up with ideas that are extremely derivative of others, there's no point of even doing this for a living, because you're going to struggle unless
I
you're
mean, that
sure.
could be a good place to
Yeah.
start. Like, especially if you're just starting out with a channel and you're not quite sure what works. I
Yeah, you
find
can be
that derivative
inspired.
ideas can help
Yes.
inspire, exactly.
But from where
But
are you going to pull them? If you pull them directly from your main competitor, you know,
they've probably got more money, more talent, more.
and but what makes us happy? Like, why do we choose this as a career? It's not easy to do. It's rewarding, but
Yeah.
did we choose this just because we thought it would be lucrative? And if that's the case, then go ahead and reenact all of your competitors' videos one after another. And if that makes you genuinely happy as a person, I will never understand it, but do it. Right.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't think I could live with myself if my entire job was to just be a vulture from what other people are doing. I don't care about money that much. I care about the process. Money's a byproduct from from having a successful project. It's not the main goal, right? And it's also something that it's an ingredient we need to put in order to do the thing we want to do. But I don't see money as the reason I'm doing this. You know, if money's your motivator, there's a lot of ways to make money, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think building a YouTube channel is necessarily the thing, if you're not a creative person. But like, everyone's different. Some people are happy with, you know, doing that. And
Yeah.
honestly, like, I have a lot of competition because the niche I came up in the deck world, I did reach the top of it.
Mm.
So we became the most followed, most viewed person in decks, period.
On
And there
YouTube, you
was,
mean?
in general,
Yeah.
and there
Oh,
was
social media.
others.
Okay.
Yeah, social media in general. And there was others, right? That had couples started before I did. I didn't even on Instagram before TikTok and stuff too. And a couple started, dozens started after me. Um, and the guys who started before me, they don't like me. And there's sometimes in the competitive mind state, some people think they can get further ahead by bringing their competition down. I've always felt like I ignore what they do. I do what I do. I do it as good as I can, and it's not a competition to me. It's I'm not racing against them for anything, right? Um, Now that being said, one of our sponsors took us on a tour 2 years in a row across the U.S., where we visited job sites and filmed YouTube videos there, and got to meet all kinds of other contractors. And the majority of them, which was kind of eye opening, started their entire business or their channel or got into deck building because of watching my videos 4 or 5 years ago on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. So I don't
How
know if
does
that's
that
good or
make you
bad.
feel that you're able to inspire people like that?
Well, when it first started happening, I thought maybe I'm delusional. Like, when I've seen people copy me, I'd be like, maybe it's coincidence. And then I would see people, build a brand in a very similar way, and I was like, oh, maybe I just had a regular. And then I would talk to them after I meet them in person years later, and they would say this. So
Yeah.
for me, it's like, it's flattering to a degree, but then I worry about the responsibility of, did I glorify this job? Did I make it seem like it was better than it really was? And did I make them did I convince them to make a career choice that might not be right for them? And you can't think like that, but I mean, I made carpentry look fun. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not. The reality is, sometimes you're up at 5 a.m., it's snowing, it's miserable, you can't feel your hands or feet. Your family's wondering why you're not home yet. Your boss is wondering why you're trying to leave before you're done. The amount of money you're making is not going to cover expenses. Blah 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 blah. You know, there's a million reasons why construction sucks, but I think what's good about it is it's an avenue to vent or exercise your creative abilities and your physical abilities at the same time, and earn a living, secure living for your family without taking massive risks. If you were just an artist who was a sculptor or something, it's a similar idea, but you're actually getting paid a paycheck every
Mm.
day. So it's a secure idea. But
Gord, can I ask you a question? Like, would you say that you've been able to build and grow your channel by taking risks, investing big, and essentially doubling down on the content you believe in?
Yeah, because I don't see it as investing as much as I see it as fundraising. So if I have an idea for a project and I don't have the cash on me, so I can't invest, I need to find a company that will see the benefit in investing in their long-term growth plan or their, brand awareness strategy that they're doing. And so my job is to find those people that are like-minded, that like my idea and are willing to help me finance it. So it's not like, I don't look at it like that money could have been a Ferrari. I look at it like that money was so I can do this because this is what I enjoy doing. So I don't look at it like I'm gambling. Although sometimes I feel like it is a bit of like I'm treating the entire world like it's a blackjack table sometimes. But I mean, there's worse things to do. Um, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I don't see it that way. I'm more goal oriented and project
Mm.
oriented than I am by anything else. So the money's always been a byproduct,
Mm.
and being someone who is now considered financially successful is surreal. It's only been a couple of years, and I've now started to understand what's going on. First little while, I grew up in poverty in Scarborough, and I don't know if you're from Toronto, right?
I'm from
Yes.
Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up in Scarborough and poverty, bad neighborhoods, you know, no money, no nothing. So to have more available to you than someone can make in 10 years, you know, is a lot. And I think I had to do a little bit of survivor's guilt at first when we first started to gain that traction. But I've sort of come come to terms with it all. Like I've processed it. But it was a good year where I just felt guilty for being for making it. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know survivor's guilt was even a thing. I had to figure that out on my own. But yeah, so I was like, why the fuck do I feel like shit for winning? That's crazy. Almost like I want to lose on purpose. Um, and that was something I never thought was a thing because
Mm.
even from a teenager, I was ambitious. I was going to make it. I was going to do this. I never thought that making it would develop new problems that didn't exist before or don't exist at all. They're only in my head, right?
Right. Gord, how many videos? It sounds like you've kind of adjusted your pace of content creation, probably in part because you're doing more elaborate productions. So how many episodes are you putting out in a season, like we sort of talked about, in a month or a year, however you divvy it up?
And I wish I had a really good answer that was organized. So I can tell you for the first 5 years of building channels, I posted every single day, no matter what. Whether I was, you know, in the weeds on a job site, trying to figure out things financially because I bootstrapped a business from nothing. Um, Kids, family, whatever is going on, I would always manage to film and edit a video once a day for like 5 years straight. And that's one of those things people don't want to hear, that they have to do that. They're amazed and they can't believe that that's a thing. Even when if I didn't have anything filmed that day, I would roll back and find something interesting that I might have skipped that was recorded, months ago, years ago, whatever it was. And sometimes those were my biggest short hits. Like, um, yeah, it's just a matter of ethic. Now, in terms of an actual frequency where we dial in for, a regular schedule, I've never been able to figure that out because the videos that I want to make are often difficult to produce and timelines are unrealistic if you want something to be good. That being said, if I was in the position I'm in now and the mentality that I'm in now, I'm not just releasing them as they're ready anymore. I'm putting them away while I do. So what they call hero content is like the big ones, the expensive ones, the ones that you believe in and you really think are going to go well. People are excited for you set up a premiere and people are waiting in line to watch it. Those are the ones that come out every 3 months. You know what I mean? For me, but I want that to be, for 3 months, I want to put out one a week for 3 months every year. You know what I mean? And so the mentality now is, how do we bank as much of the good stuff as possible so that we can dial into a better frequency, because YouTube does reward consistency. I don't know why they do, but they do. And I've noticed that if I feel like my YouTube is not doing what I want it to, or I'm starting to feel like we're seeing a downtrend, I will put out and I will edit, 9 videos straight, and I will schedule them 3 a day for the next 3 days. And then you will see a trend happening, but not from those 9 videos. From a video from 6 months ago, just went boom. And it happens every time I do that. And I don't know if YouTube does this on purpose or if it's just a coincidence that I'm drumming up some static over here. So now the algorithm's now searching backwards a little bit. I don't know, but I know that when I really give it, something randomly good will happen. So I don't know if that's just the universe, if that's just cause and effect, or if that's just luck and it just happens to be happening to me. But so now the goal is that we do content full time. I want that to be all the time, not just when I'm in the zone or when I'm down, because, functioning at a very high level when you're under pressure is nice, but imagine doing that even when you're not.
There is some luxury in being able to take your time with your content and think it through and make those edits that having the luxury of time gives you the opportunity to do.
Correct. And I look at it just like construction. I've never been on schedule. I've never finished a project on schedule ever, but it will always be better than the competition's project because I'm willing to lose money to make this thing perfect. And because of that, I was able to build the company the way I did. And it was really strange because it's hard to explain, but was that a profitable construction company? Not technically, but the media company overshadowed it so much so that it didn't matter. So it was like a plan from the beginning where, they say 99% of construction companies go bankrupt in the first 4 years, right? So the first year, 50% of them are done. Second year, even more. So then by the 5th year, you're down to 1% of people. And I always figured there's something about that 1%. Was it just amazing CEOs, amazing, employees, amazing management of staff, people, and projects? I think the 1%, there's always something else going on that makes that company successful. It's not just shake hands with Barbara and Tom and build their porch and then build a crazy good company. There's always an element. And I always wondered, because I made it past that threshold, my element was the social media element. But I thought that was me cheating. But maybe every 1% has that one thing that they do that no one else is doing. And it's not cheating. It's just being strategic. So that's
competitive advantage.
But not by luck, by planning, right?
Yes.
So it's crazy when you think about it. But, maybe they all have that one thing that I would love to look at and see if there's a common denominator. It wouldn't all be social media, but it would be something else that drove this thing to make it. And that's kind of stuff I think about before I go to sleep at night.
Yeah. Gord, I've learned a lot here from you about business and, just the go big or go home way you've grown your channel and your brand and your now media empire business. I know you got to get back to work, but I want you to leave the audience, the viewers, with some thoughts about, if they're in that 10 to 50,000 space of trying to build or grow a channel or starting to see some traction and wondering, what could they be doing to grow it even further, maybe get their own silver play button by crossing that 100,000 subscribers mark. What's your advice to them? Can you sum things up into a few words, a few sentences?
Set a goal, an unrealistic goal. Set it to, I want a gold plaque by this year. And you'll end up with silver and you won't even be satisfied. It'll rob you of that feeling, but at least you'll have it. The other one is, when you finish a project, you can ask yourself, is this the best I can do? And if the answer is yes, send it. And if the answer is usually no, but I'd have to do this, and this to make it special, then just do that and stop wasting your time and stop half-assing it. That's all. I mean, if you ask yourself, is this the best I can do? And the answer is yes, then man, you got something good going on. But be honest with yourself. Is this the best you can do? I very rarely have gone, this is the absolute best I can do on this project. I wish I couldn't have done anything different. And the beauty is with a video, you can go back and edit it. You can voice over, you can put B-reel, you can do whatever you can to make the story more cohesive. So storytelling matters, but storytelling doesn't mean get ChatGPT to write you a script of a story and tell it over a video. Storytelling just means you're satisfying the audience with a beginning, middle, and end. You know, you don't even have to have words to tell a story. So storytelling, some people take too literally. They think it means tell a story. It doesn't mean that. It means anything you're doing could tell a story if you format it correctly. I had done a video where we just dug a hole, literally just dug a hole, and it got millions of views because of how I filmed it. I didn't say a word. I just dug a hole, and I made it so it told a story from the beginning of the thing to the hole being dug. And I just wanted to prove that I could do a silent video digging a hole and get 1 million views, and we got like 10 million on that. It was crazy across all the
Amazing.
platforms. And I mean, you could tell a story without speaking. That's all I'm trying to say. And think about the audience, their perspective, the user. Like any great product or brand that builds something or creates or invents something, they're thinking about the end user. So if you are an end user as well for content or entertainment. So if you're making a video and ask yourself, would I watch this video if it wasn't me? If you were scrolling, would you stop on this video? And if the answer is no, don't bother with this video. Why would you even do this? Right? Because that means the video sucks because you're not even willing to watch it. And this is your main interest because this is, this is what you chose to do with your channel. So this is your interest and you wouldn't even watch it. So why would someone else? It doesn't even make any sense, right? So if the answer is yes, this is what I would find entertaining, that's what you should focus on. And I guess that's the advice.
I think that's fantastic advice. Set a goal for yourself, do the absolute best you can, and think of the audience. I think if people out there are looking to grow their channel, just taking into account nothing else that you've said, just those 3 things, I think is solid advice. So Gord, I want to say thank you so much for spending an hour with me this morning today. And I really hope that people are able to glean a lot from your own experience. So thanks again for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.